watching the Forefront Church video podcast. And wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. How we doing? Whoa, easy. All you guys who are watching online, welcome. We're glad you're here with us. Well, not here with, but yeah, you know what I mean. And so comment, let us know where you're watching from, and make sure that you connect on our .info page so we can help you along. Man, I'm thankful for you guys. We're kicking off a brand new series called Blessed. We're really looking at why do some people thrive? Have you ever see those people? Maybe they're in your life. Maybe you kind of see them from afar and you're just like, why on earth did they get everything? How many of you guys know somebody like that? It's just like every time you turn around, you're just like, are you kidding me? They got that too. I wanted that. Like you go through a little bit of those emotions. You're like, why is it that some people, it just seems like every single thing clicks? And then you look at your life, you're like, over there, it's like, it's sunshiny over there, and you're like, it's raining on me. You're like, Eeyore, nobody likes me. Like, there's that kind of movement, and we wanted to look at and take some time over the next 2 months. We'll be in this series looking at the Sermon on the Mount. These words of Jesus, one of his most famous teachings, the very first sermon that Jesus actually preaches, and there's his disciples, his students, his followers are there, and a bunch of other people, and he's standing on the hillside and addresses them and has this teaching, and really, over the course of a few chapters, looks at why is it that some people thrive and others seem to remain stagnant? Why is it that some people apply things and others hear it and it's like my kids, goes in one ear and out the other? You know, this isn't only isolated to faith. This happens in sports with athletes where people just kind of look at the landscape of things and go, there's something real special happening right there. For instance, there's this place in Kenya, Iten, Kenya, that's known as the home of champions. The place where this is at, they have about 42,000 people in a population of that province. But when you narrow it down to the little village where most of these men and women reside, it's about 4,000 people. But within those 4,000 people hold 7 of the 10 fastest records around the world for running in a small village in Kenya. They hold hundreds of medals and trophies and records, so much so that if you just happen to live in this little village of Iten, Kenya, you have a 1 in 13 chance of being a world-renowned runner. 1 in 13 is absolutely mind-boggling, where there are men and women all over the world trying to do this, and people have studied and looked at why is it that these men and women in these conditions and these things thrive. And so people have traveled from all over the world to go to this village and study and learn and understand in the city, why is it that this is taking place? And when people arrive now, there are some facilities that people have built up because they're trying to capitalize and make some money off of the reputation of this small town. But most of the men and women that train, that do this, you'll find that they're not wearing the tracking meter to measure all of their vitals. They're not worried about all the different fancy technology that there is out there. They're not looking at their little GPS and go, oh man, I need to move around here and tracking all the stuff. They're not using Runkeeper or Nike Plus running app. Instead, and they're not even using a fancy track. It's just dirt, and the majority of people have bare feet when they run. For most of us, we would step out in the summertime in bare feet and go, nah, I'm good. I'm going back inside. Concrete's a little hot. And instead, these men and women are running and trucking along and breaking records left and right. When groups have gone and interviewed them and said, why is it that you are thriving at the altitude that you're at and all these factors considered, while there are some conditions that make it good, this is not the norm. We don't understand why this happened. And you're not using the things that everyone else is using. All of those tools. One runner in particular, as he was being interviewed, he said, all of those things are okay, and we use those from time to time. It's very rare that we use them, but the thing that helps us the most is, well, first of all, that we run in packs. No one ever goes out and ventures out to run alone. And the next two things that he shared in that was that part of this happens as we run in packs by environment in the way that we apply what we're watching. You see, as they move through this and as they run together, they're watching one another. It's saying, I see what you're doing, you see me, we're going to coach each other along in the process and help each other out, and we're going to be better as we run together. If you've ever been in any kind of sports, you know that if you're around people that are better than you, they're going to push you to places that you've never been. It's the same way I meet a lot of guys and men and women who are in the military, and they would say, you know what, as I work in the military, when I'm around people who are striving to be better in the unit that I'm in, I strive to be better because they push me to be more. When you hang around people that are like-minded, who are pushing you to greater, you'll see that the environment that you put yourself in and the application that you put forth, well, it changes everything. And we want to see, is there something that we can boil that down to? Does Jesus note that over the course of 3 chapters about how some people can thrive in their faith, and, well, some people just kind of, they're the turtle. They're slow and steady, but we're watching and go, I'm not seeing the kind of movement that I was hoping for. You see, the fact that you and I are here says that we want something more. Whether you believe in God this morning or you don't, or you're tuning in and you're just not sure, each and every one of us are here because we hope, we desire, or maybe, let's put it this way. How many of you, when you started the year, that when you end the year, you hope that spiritually, physically, emotionally, that you were in a better place than you were when you started the year? Show of hands, how many of you want that? First person to get up here who raised their hand, I want to talk to you for a second. Anybody? It's okay. I'm serious. Look at that. All right, thank you. All right, come on up. The rest of you are about to be angry. And so share with everybody, what's your name? Marissa. It is so nice to see you up here this morning. I know you, Marissa. We've had a chance to talk and share a little bit. And so here's the thing. Plenty of us, most of us in the room even raised our hand and said, I want my life, when December 31st hits and I'm making all the New Year's resolutions, all the ones you're not going to follow through with, all those things, I hope that when I started the year till now that I end it on a better note. And even these runners in I-10 Kenya would say, you know what, running with a pack, being around one another, all these things, that is what sets the pace. But it doesn't hurt to have some tools along the way. And so I'm really glad that you came up and all the rest of these people didn't get a chance to come up. Part of when we're going to learn today that blessing isn't about the things that you have, it's about who you follow. But when you follow the right person, you start to see the right tools in place that help you to get to the places that you need to go, because you can apply it because you're around the people that are able to help you. And so we got you a brand new Life Application Study Bible that has everything that you need. We want to help you spiritually. There's plenty. I already know you're meeting with some ladies that are helping you with some of that stuff. But I mean, while I like the slip-ons, I want you to be able to do some stuff. And so you can head to the Nike outlet and this will be more than enough for shoes for you, and depending on how you do it, probably shoes for the little one too. And so you enjoy that stuff and use it. You are welcome. And so the rest of you are angry now. Andy Stanley's a pastor in Atlanta, says, do for one what you wish you could do for all. And I can't do that for all of y'all. But I'm watching your faces, and don't show up to 11:30 service. And all you people watching online, don't go, I'm going to go now. You had your chance to drive here earlier. And so, just saying. Every one of us raised our hand, but only one person decided to get up. What makes the difference when we're in a pack from those who thrive and those who fall short? Action. It's action. It's saying, she's like, I just said that. Yes, it's action. You are allowed to talk in church. We're allowed to laugh and nudge each other, not too hard. You see, it is the difference when when Jesus gets up and preaches the next 3 chapters that we're going to go over the course of this next 2 months. What is the difference? And it is not #blessed I got a front parking spot. #blessed I got a little bit of a return back on my taxes. Now, somebody's like, oh no, Jason, it is. You see, what Jesus notes in the state of being when it truly means to be blessed changes our frame of mind and changes and is countercultural to everything that they are learning back then, but even to the way we condition ourselves now. If you have a Bible, I'd love for you to turn over to Matthew chapter 5. If you don't have a Bible, we give them away for free at the Get Connected table in the lobby, or you can slide on over to forefrontchurch.info. You swipe over a couple times to the Notes tab. While you're there, make sure that you save the .info page to your home screen or your mobile device. We use this for all sorts of signups, registrations, small groups. When you can get to the studies, small groups are getting to launch in a couple weeks. Praying for you to get in one. If you're not in one, I want 100%. You know what I'm saying? Because I care about you, not because I want 100% for the sake of numbers. I want it because I know that when you run with a pack, you're better, that you thrive. And over in Matthew 5, Jesus starts off in what it means to be blessed, and he leaves out all things about the parking spaces. So it shares this, starting in verse 1. Now, when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit. And I want to pause there. I want you to kind of note mentally, and maybe in your notes, if you're using the mobile section there at .info, to be able to track with these and look, what are the attributes? And these aren't singular things that go, oh, I'm this blessed, but I'm not that blessed. This is a total list. When those who follow Jesus, what does it look like? Shares, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. I love verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers. Maybe in modern day vernacular, we would read, blessed are the ones who don't get into huge political debates shaming others. Blessed are the ones who look out for their brother even if their brother has done them wrong. For they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, basically following God, that if people say, I cannot believe that you're doing these things, and say ill things about you or even physically hurtful to you, not something that we really experience a ton in the States, but happens abroad to our brothers and sisters in Christ. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You see, I read that list and it's encouraging at some moments. I think there might be moments that you read through that and go, man, you see a glimpse of yourself in those. But I think if there's any bit of humanity in you, you also have a moment when you read through those and hear those, if you're like me, where you go, man, I don't know that I always walk that out well. I don't know that I live that out. And as I started reading through these, I've done a lot of word studies, being a pastor for a long time and going through the Bible. One of the things I had never really dug deep in is like I knew what the word blessed meant. And even on our social media pages, we post this and people had all kinds of different answers for what blessed really was. But I think if we see the words of Jesus in the context of where they were then, it helps give us a better understanding of the weight of what transpires that has much less to do with the fact that someone paid for your Starbucks ahead of you in the drive-thru. That's not blessed. But what does blessed really look like? You see, blessed is a Greek word, makarios. You see, the New Testament is written in Greek, and the Old Testament of the Bible is written in Hebrew. And so as we get into this passage that Jesus is speaking on, the word that's translated there is makarios, which means contentment, happiness, joy beyond all cares and stress, even beyond death. Now, this terminology that was used, as the hearers are hearing this, they're not thinking of it in the light that we may think about it from. You see, in that time, during ancient Greek times, this was actually referred to as the gods were blessed. That the gods were above all other things, the stresses of life. They were in all the different Greek gods that they worshipped and wrote about, that they were above all things. And so because they're above all things, and they are just up in the ether there, that they are blessed. And no one could ever attain that. That was the original meaning of the word. But then as the word shifted during their culture that they're living in, it started to denote a second group. They would start to use this term to look at the dead. Those who had gone through life, and you and I know, because we even bring this up during funerals. We say during funerals or celebrations of life, oh, they are in a much better place. What we're really saying in that moment is, it's hearkening back to this word, this makarios, that we would say, you know what, because they are no longer here, because we see there is trouble, there is hurt, there is war, there is famine, there is death, there is sickness, and they're blessed that they get to be. Basically, they were using the terminology to say, you are now with the gods, and so therefore you are quote unquote blessed. But as culture began to shift, as Jesus was approaching his time of ministry, there was a third way that they looked at this. And this unfortunately painted this one, the wealthy. This is what we see today. When we see this, we see somebody else and they've got the car that we wanted. You know, they got the house that I wish I could have that. We see their Instagram feed and we're like, oh. And we look at all that and we go, there's something about them, which it took them 14 tries. I've seen the girls at Starbucks. They're like taking all the things and they finally get the one shot where it like they're like stretching their neck and doing their thing. I don't know. But then all of a sudden they lose like 45 pounds in a photo. We see this spread and we go, you know what? Because they've reached this spot, this was during their culture, that therefore they are blessed. And so I want us to really dive into where they would have been to understand where we're hearing these words. The only people that can be blessed are the ancient Greek gods, the people who have passed on to be with them, in the top 1% of culture. And so Jesus swoops in and completely changes the definition. He starts saying, blessed are the poor. And they're like, oh. Imagine, now we get a better picture. They're sitting there and they're nudging, like, I can't believe he just said the poor people are blessed. That is only for the gods. That is only for the dead. That is only for the higher ups. There is no way that a poor person could be blessed. And he goes on, and as we say it, he turns their world upside down in what it means to truly be blessed. And it's not about our circumstances. It's about who we follow and how we view ourselves in light of how good God is. The way Jesus changes it, Jesus blessed or the bottom heap of humanity. the ones who don't think highly of themselves, the ones who put others first, the ones who say, my life is no longer my own, I want it to be about other people. And it totally changes the perspective of this entire group of people as he leads in to this most famous teaching that he has. He said, listen, if you want to be #blessed, drop yourself lowly before others. Give to the needy. Move in a meek manner. Bring peace to others. Yeah, I know you have a certain political bend. I need you to just park that and just love this person because they didn't vote for who you voted for. Yeah, I know that person ranted on Facebook. I need you to just ignore it because it is possible to just keep scrolling. Yeah, I know that person cut you off in traffic. Maybe when you pull up next to them in the same parking lot, you just care for them instead of yell at them. I know your coworker took that job and took that bid that you wanted, and that meant that you didn't get the money that you wanted for that to be able to provide for your family. You could be bitter, or you could trust God and be better. As we move in these things, Jesus says, you know what? It's the bottom heap, the ones that no one has looked at, the overlooked. Here's the problem with American culture in the Western church. The unfortunate part is we're being conditioned from all sides that our quote-unquote blessed status is based on what we have. If I have a house that is fully furnished, I'm blessed. If you were to ask someone, most people, are you blessed? And they said yes. And if you said, well, how? They'd say the neighborhood they live in, the house that they have usually, the number of cars, the trips that they go on, the fact that they have stability. They have a retirement nest egg that's around. All of those revolving around our things. Jesus says that's not the way it's supposed to be. Actually, what Jesus says is, you want to follow me, you want to humble yourself, you want to let me know that I'm the one in control and you're not in control. Not only am I going to take you in your humble state, but you know what? Anything that you need, I'm going to provide. Anything, you are going to be without want. Because I'm going to care for you in each and every way. I love the way Glenn Mills, he's a Jamaican running coach. He actually is from the States and moved to Jamaica to coach a ton of different athletes, one of those being Usain Bolt. And he was in an interview with ESPN about training runners and all these things, and he pulls out his metal folding chair, nothing fancy. I mean, it's a hot, like kind of dingy place, and they're like, don't you want to go someplace nice? He's like, oh, this is about as nice as we get. And he goes on, and they sit down. I mean, it's just sweaty, and everyone's dripping. He's dripping. I mean, it looks like they have poured a constant Niagara Falls across his face. And he's in the interview, doesn't care, and he's talking and talking. He said the problem with people and they're asking him why he trains the way he does with his athletes, similar to the way they do in Kenya. He said, well, because people, they have too many things. They have too many distractions. And it doesn't help them. And he references being back in the States. He said, in the States, there'll be fitness places that have an escalator. Just let that sink in for a second. He said, why is it that we have an escalator? It defeats the very purpose of needing to be at the gym. He said, or about cafes in a gym. The reason that you are at the gym is because you spent too much time at the cafe and not enough time at the gym. There's too many comforts. And so as they probed and started asking more about why his athletes thrive and others don't, he put it this way. When we have too many things, we become lazy. I take away anything that distracts. We learn best seeing how others, I love this, others live it, not by just using their what? Tools. You see, when we see somebody else and they have a great yard, automatically what do we think? I need to get that lawnmower that they have. What kind of seed did they use? And we go on and on about the stuff and the process. Could it be that they just see the care and we don't even think about the soil underneath? What if across the neighborhood our soil is completely different? We have to change up the process, but it's the care and the studying of it that makes all the difference. You see, Glenn Mills would share with you that it's not about all the tools and all the things, but it's simply about taking away distractions and getting down to what is necessary, which is why he has all his athletes train on the same type of dirt track that they do in Kenya. Said, I don't want all of that mess. I just want to train runners who know how to run. You only need one job, run. Don't need anything else. You see, and then we get to our faith. We go, well, what I need, and I don't want to shame anyone when it comes to head knowledge. It's hard to act on what you don't know. You do need to know certain things. But even I watch people all the time and they have tons of head knowledge, but don't put it into practice. I met somebody the other day who goes to Forefront, and I was watching them. I'm like, and I stopped them on their way in. I said, hey, I want to ask you, as their friend walks by to go use the restroom, I said, you bring a friend with you all the time. And you've been coming now for 6 months, 7 months. It's that's awesome. And so I just kind of asked, I said, what do you do? Are you saying something to them? Are you clubbing them over and dragging them out? What are you doing? It's amazing that you are bringing, and they were just no, just talk. They see my life, talk about Jesus, and they want to come. And so they come, and I bring my friend, and they're talking through all these things. I was that's awesome. And so the conversation was kind of well, why do you ask? I was because I've known people who were here even before I came on staff, and I can't remember the last time that they brought a friend. And the person said, well, why? So I think we just get distracted, and I think sometimes, not all the time, sometimes I think we get a little lazy and complacent in our faith. And we wonder why some people are blessed and some people aren't. Well, part of that is about taking action. There's an old Jewish story of a Jewish rabbi, and he's talking through some things with one of his students. And he shares with his student, he says, there in the ancient days, there were men and women who saw just huge blessing, and they experienced the presence of God in such a tangible way that when they would walk away, you would see it in their life for weeks and for months. And the student is kind of probing to his teacher, the rabbi. He said, why don't they anymore? And the rabbi's response was, because nowadays no one stoops so low. That often men and women, we're conditioned to rise in power. I need to get that better job. I need to get that better house. Right now, our family drives cars until the wheels fall off. My little car is paid for. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. If you don't know about that, there's a class we'll have next year. It's the best. And I'm driving my car. But you know what? My wife, we needed to get another car. And so we got my wife a van. And because we have a little baseball team of children, and so we got her a van, and her van has seat warmers. You've never lived till you have seat warmers. Basically the only power I have is power windows and sometimes power steering if the car's having a good day. And so I got in her car the first time that we got it, and I sat in the car, and it was cold, and so I turned on the seat warmers, and there was a part of me that got closer to Jesus in that moment. And I'll tell you this, there are parts of us that go, man, and you know what? I'm going to drive my car to those little wheels fall right off. But you know what happens when I want to go get another car? My thought's going to be, man, I need to get a car with seat warmers. Yeah. Live that life. Don't want to go back. And we in our culture do this. We get to a job, and we hire up, and we go, man, that's really great. I wonder what it feels like to be at the next spot. I don't want to ever discourage us from using the resources that we have. We want to be able to use those resources, and if you can climb and you can have stuff and do all these things, that's great. If you also know what it means to practice generosity. That you go, I have these things, but these things don't define me. I trust more in God than I do these things. But the problem, the temptation within our culture, which is why we say, why do some thrive? Why do some people have that blessed life and others don't? I think it's because we get distracted from the direction Jesus wants us on because we see all these other things that can take our attention away. Which is why Jesus starts, the very first thing he says is, blessed are the poor in spirit. Even the very nature of that, he leads with poor, which means the lowest form. The lowest that we can possibly be. Essentially what he's saying is, if you want the blessed life, that you would drop yourself humbly and meekly before me and in spirit, recognizing, he uses that next word, in spirit, recognizing our entire need. You know what? I meet people who say, Jason, I've been at this faith thing for a while, and I want to see God kind of send the spark back, send this rejuvenation back. How do I do this? Because I feel like things have gotten a little stagnant. I feel like things are a little bit off kilter. I've kind of, the job thing, the family thing, the friend thing, but there's not, it's not going the way I hoped. And I encourage them, and Jesus shares a lot more about this throughout his time and this message that he preaches that we'll get into over the coming weeks. But this thing that he notes is that blessed people live to share Jesus with people. That if you want to see your spiritual life thrive, and Caleb last week shared this, he said, if you want to jumpstart your faith, go share Jesus with someone else. I've yet to meet somebody who is helping other people come to Jesus who goes, man, I'm really bored with this whole God thing. I don't really know about this following Jesus. I meet people that are sharing their faith, and they come in, they are like Ric Flair, right? They just come in, they're like, whoa! And they're like, and you're just like, what is going on with you? You're like, yo, man, my friend came to Jesus, and they accepted him, and they're moving in this, and you're like, man, that's awesome. And before you can end, it's awesome. They're like, and then there's this other person that I met at the grocery store, and I'm not talking about pulling up to the grocery store, you're doing the thing, and they're like, boop, boop, and you're like, where are you going to go when you die? Boop, boop. Like, don't do that, okay? But yeah, but conversations need to be intentional. I will say this, that past the knowledge and all the stuff, I think sometimes we try to boil down the process of sharing Jesus and moving in these ways like somehow I've got the formula figured out. And I want to encourage you, those of you guys who don't feel very dynamic, you've been reading the Bible, but you can't always retain everything, but you love Jesus and you want to see other people meet and follow Jesus. I think that process looks a lot less like sitting down across the table and saying, where are you going to go when you die? And a lot more like living life so that other people can witness it and it stirs conversations. Recently on Facebook, posted a photo of my wife and I at Aid Now's event. We were there to serve along with many of you. It was so cool to watch. The team there did a phenomenal job in ministering and caring for hundreds of families that are in need. And as we're there, we posted the picture, and you ever have those friends that will just kind of poke fun of you no matter what you do? Like they love you, and it's always funny, but it also stings a little bit. Like they're like, thurp, thurp, and you're like, that's cute, I'm just gonna go cry now. And you don't say it out loud. Well, I have for some reason I have a lot of friends like that. And so I don't know if I just need to get new friends or what. Anyway, there's one of my friends. I used to work with him at a tattoo studio that we were at, and he messages me, and he doesn't do it on Facebook in front of everybody. He slides right into the direct messages, and he's like, "Nice glasses, bro," and he puts a bunch of emojis, which I can't share all of them here, and so he does that, and like, thanks, man, whatever. And I put a crying emoji. And we go kind of back and forth with things. And he's like, why'd you get something like that? And I was like, and so I just said, do you really want to know? And I was like, yeah, whatever. And so I share with him. I was like, my daughter Roxy, we recently brought her to the doctor. And we found out that she's not blind. But I'm not sure if she can see the future now, because her glasses, she can't see anything far away, like anything. And so, but she had never told us. And so we brought her to the doctor, and she found out she had to get glasses, and she was mortified. She's crying, whatever. And she came home, she got in the recliner with me, Daddy, everybody's going to make fun of me. Like, she's going on and on and on. I was like, baby, I love you. You're going to be fine. Daddy wears glasses, and nobody makes fun of him. Meanwhile, like, I have friends who love me. And so we go through this whole conversation. I'm sharing this with him. This all happened before the comment. I said, you know what? Like, what kind of class do you want? Well, I want a fun pair, but I don't want to be the only one. I don't want people to make fun of me. I was like, here's the deal. You get whatever color you want, whatever fun one you want when you go with mommy. And then when you come home, it's going to take a while for them to make them. We'll get on the website that I order my glasses on, because I'm buying cheap glasses because I'm a pastor. And so it's like you can look and we'll look at all the colors. Well, she starts looking at like magenta and like whatever. You can buy daddy's glasses and I'll wear those, and she's like, these are great. I'm like, yeah, they're like magenta sparkles. And I'm just thinking, how am I going to explain this to everyone? And she finally lands on these, and these come in, and they come in, I get them, and and she wouldn't let me post a picture. She was supposed to be here today, but she's sick. She's like, I don't want you to post a picture. I want people to see me. I want to surprise them. And she was so amped on it. But when she got her glasses and we got our glasses, we took a little selfie together. She said, Daddy, thanks for letting me not be alone. And like, there's all those moments where or you guys that say this, and I hate it. Also, Dan Pollard, our adult ministry pastor, hates it. All the feels, but that's like you're just like and crumbling. And so I shared this story with my friend. Well, that was about 30 minutes of conversation back and forth. The next hour of text messaging back and forth was about why would you do that? And at first, he like assumed that it was because I'm a dad. And I was like, whether I am a dad or not has nothing to do with the choice I made to do that for my daughter. I did that because I love Jesus. And I want to teach my daughter what it means to love Jesus, and what it means to love Jesus is to be selfless. And there's days that I don't do that very well. But in this instance, I can. So if I have to wear purple polka dot glasses so that my daughter can feel good about herself, so that she can walk into church and into school with her courage of Jesus, then I'm going to do that. And so for the next hour, we talked about Jesus. Sharing Jesus does not look like you think it does. But it's only when you humble yourself to follow Jesus. And I don't want you to hear that and go, I get dad stuff wrong a lot, okay? But when I follow Jesus and I humble myself before him and follow him, every once in a while, a blind squirrel gets a nut. Like, God's going to go, you know what? You're following me. You're doing the right thing. I know you feel like you're not doing. I know you feel like you're not enough. I know, but you are blessed, and I'm going to throw conversations your way. If you honor me, I'm going to take that honor and share it with others. You have to first choose to follow. And that's why Jesus blessed are the bottom heap of humanity. And if you walk, look at me, my heart breaks for you. Because I watch people walk way more mighty and confident when they humble themselves before a great and mighty God. And I want the same for you. But that choice is yours. And my prayer is that you'll choose him. Would you pray with me?
Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in, and we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.